Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. Nice to see you. We're going to do a little reading now. Once we get the camera set up properly. Oh my Lord.
Oh God. Alright, it's Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 39. No, 38.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 38. Furthermore, I have personally heard you promise Draupadi that you would bring forth the head of the killer of her sons. Text 39. This man is an assassin and murderer of your own family members. Not only that, but he has also dissatisfied his master. He is but the burnt remnants of his family. Wow. Kill him immediately. Purport. The son of Dronacharya is condemned here as the burnt remnants of his family. It's quite good, no? The good name of Dronacharya is very much respected. Although he joined the enemy camp, the Pandavas held him always in respect, and Arjuna saluted him before beginning the fight. There was nothing wrong in that act, but the son of Dronacharya degraded himself by committing acts which are never done by the Dvijas or the twice-born. Higher castes. Ashwatthama, the son of Dronacharya, committed murder by killing the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi, by which he dissatisfied his master Duryodhana, who never approved of the heinous acts of killing the 5 sleeping sons of the Pandavas. This means that Ashwatthama became an assaulter of Arjuna's own family members, and thus he was liable to be punished by him. In the Sastras, he who attacks without notice, or kills from behind, or sets fire to another's house, or kidnaps one's wife, is condemned to death. Krishna reminded Arjuna of these facts, so that he might take notice of them and do the needful.
Text 40. Suta Goswami said, although Krishna, who was examining Arjuna in religion, encouraged Arjuna to kill the son of Dronacharya, Arjuna, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him, although Ashwatthama was a heinous murderer of Arjuna's family members. Purport. Arjuna was a great soul, undoubtedly, which is proved here also. He is encouraged herein personally by the Lord to kill the son of Drona. But Arjuna considers that the son of his great teacher should be spared, for he happens to be the son of Dronacharya, even though he is an unworthy son, having done all sorts of heinous acts whimsically for no one's benefit.
Lord Sri Krishna encouraged Arjuna outwardly just to test Arjuna's sense of duty. It is not that Arjuna was incomplete in the sense of his duty, nor was Lord Sri Krishna unaware of Arjuna's sense of duty. But Lord Sri Krishna put to test many of his pure devotees just to magnify the sense of duty. The gopis were put to such tests as well. Prahlad Maharaj also was put to such a test. All pure devotees come out successful in their respective tests by the Lord. Text 41. After reaching his own camp, Arjuna, along with his dear friend and charioteer Sri Krishna, entrusted the murderer unto his dear wife, who was lamenting for her murdered sons. Purport. The transcendental relation of Arjuna with Krishna is of the dearmost friendship. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord himself has claimed Arjuna as his dearmost friend. Every living being is thus related with the Supreme Lord by some sort of affectionate relation, either as servant or as friend or as parent or as an object of conjugal love. Everyone thus can enjoy the company of the Lord in the spiritual realm if he at all desires and sincerely tries for it by the practice of bhakti yoga.
Text 42. Sri Suta Goswami said, Draupadi then saw Ashwatthama, who was bound with ropes like an animal, and silent for having enacted the most inglorious murder. Due to her female nature, and due to her being naturally good and well behaved, she showed him due respects as a Brahmana. Purport. Ashwatthama was condemned by the Lord himself, and he was treated by Arjuna just like a culprit, not like the son of a Brahmana or a teacher. But when he was brought before Srimati Draupadi, she, although begrieved for the murder of her sons, and although the murderer was present before her, could not withdraw the due respect generally offered to a Brahmana, or to the son of a Brahmana. This is due to her mild nature as a woman. Women as a class are no better than boys, and therefore they have no discriminatory power like that of a man. Ashwatthama proved himself to be an unworthy son of Dronacharya, or of a Brahmana, and for this reason he was condemned by the greatest authority, Lord Shri Krishna. And yet a mild woman could not withdraw her natural courtesy for a Brahmana.
Even today, in a Hindu family, a woman shows proper respect to the Brahmana caste, however fallen and heinous a Brahma Bandhu may be. But the men have begun to protest against Brahma Bandhus who are born in families of good Brahmanas, but by action are less than Shudras.
The specific word used in this shloka is Vama Swabhava, mild and gentle by nature. A good man or woman accepts anything very easily, but a man of average intelligence does not do so. But anyway, we should not give up our reason and discriminatory power just to be gentle. One must have good discriminatory power to judge a thing on its merit. We should not follow the mild nature of a woman and thereby accept that which is not genuine. Ashwatthama may be respected by a good-natured woman, but that does not mean that he is as good as a genuine Brahmana.
Text 43. She could not tolerate Ashwatthama's being bound by ropes, and being a devoted lady, she said, "Release him, for he is a Brahmana, our spiritual master." Purport. As soon as Ashwatthama was brought before Draupadi, she thought it intolerable that a Brahmana should be arrested like a culprit and brought before her in that condition, especially when the Brahmana happened to be a teacher's son.
Arjuna arrested Ashwatthama, knowing perfectly well that he was the son of Dronacharya. Krishna also knew him to be so, but both of them condemned the murderer without consideration of his being the son of a Brahmana. According to revealed scriptures, a teacher or spiritual master is liable to be rejected if he proves himself unworthy of the position of a guru or spiritual master. A guru is called also an acharya, or a person who has personally assimilated all the essence of shastras and has helped his disciple to adopt the ways. Ashwatthama failed to discharge the duties of a Brahmana or teacher, and therefore he was liable to be rejected from the exalted position of a Brahmana. On this consideration, both Lord Shri Krishna and Arjuna were right in condemning Ashwatthama. But to a good lady like Draupadi, the matter was considered not from the angle of Shastric vision, but as a matter of custom. By custom, Ashwatthama was offered the same respect as offered to his father. It was so because generally the people accept the son of a Brahmana as a real Brahmana. By sentiment only. Factually, the matter is different. A Brahmana is accepted on the merit of qualification and not on the merit of simply being the son of a Brahmana.
But in spite of all this, Draupadi desired that Ashwatthama be at once released, and it was all the same a good sentiment for her. This means that a devotee of the Lord can tolerate all sorts of tribulation personally, but still such devotees are never unkind to others, even to the enemy. These are the characteristics of one who is a pure devotee of the Lord.
Text 44. It was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned the military art of throwing arrows and the confidential art of controlling weapons. Purport. Dhanur Ved, or military science, was taught by Dronacharya with all its confidential secrets of throwing and controlling by Vedic hymns. Gross military science is dependent on material weapons, but finer than that is the art of throwing the arrows saturated with Vedic hymns, which act more effectively than gross material weapons like machine guns or atomic bombs. The control is by Vedic mantras, or the transcendental science of sound. It is said in the Ramayana that Maharaj Dasharatha, the father of Lord Sri Ram, used to control arrows by sound only. He could pierce his target with his arrow by only hearing the sound, without seeing the object. So this is a finer military science than that of the gross material military weapons used nowadays. Arjuna was taught all of this, and therefore Draupadi wished that Arjuna feel obliged to Acharya Drona for all these benefits. And in the absence of Dronacharya, his son was his representative. That was the opinion of the good lady Draupadi. It may be argued why Dronacharya, a rigid Brahmin, should be a teacher in military science, but the reply is that a Brahmin should become a teacher, regardless of what his department of knowledge is. A learned Brahmana should become a teacher, a priest, and a recipient of charity. A bona fide Brahmana is authorized to accept such professions.
Text 45. He, Dronacharya, is certainly still existing, being represented by his son. His wife Kripi did not undergo a sati with him because she had a son. Purport. The wife of Dronacharya, Kripi, is the sister of Kripacharya, a devoted wife who is, according to revealed scripture, the better half of her husband, is justified in embracing voluntary death along with her husband if she is without issue. But in the case of the wife of Dronacharya, she did not undergo such a trial because she had her son, the representative of her husband. A widow is a widow only in name if there is a son of her husband existing. So in either case, Ashwatthama was the representative of Dronacharya, and therefore killing Ashwatthama would be like killing Dronacharya. That was the argument of Draupadi against the killing of Ashwatthama.
Text 46. O most fortunate one, know the principles of religion. It is not good for you to cause grief to glorious family members who are always respectable and worshipful. Purport. A slight insult for a respectable family is sufficient to invoke grief. Therefore, a cultured man should always be careful in dealing with worshipable family members.
Text 47. My lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. I am aggrieved for the death of my sons. She need not cry constantly like me. Purport. Sympathetic good lady as she was, Srimati Draupadi did not want to put the wife of Dronacharya in the same position of childlessness, both from the point of motherly feelings and from the respectable position held by the wife of Dronacharya.
Text 48. If the kingly administrative order, being unrestricted in sense control, offends the Brahmana order and enrages them, then the fire of that rage burns up the whole body of the royal family and brings grief upon them all. Whew. The Brahmana order of society, or the spiritually advanced caste or community, and the members of such highly elevated families were always held in great esteem by the other subordinate castes, namely the administrative kingly order, the mercantile order, and the laborers.
Text 49. Sutta Goswami said, O Brahmanas, King Yudhishthira fully supported the statements of the Queen, which were in accordance with the principles of religion. and were justified, glorious, full of mercy and equity, and without duplicity. Purport. Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was the son of Dharmaraj or Yamaraj, fully supported the words of Queen Draupadi in asking Arjuna to release Ashwatthama. One should not tolerate the humiliation of a member of a great family. Arjuna and his family were indebted to the family of Dronacharya because of Arjuna's learning the military science from him. If ingratitude was shown to such a benevolent family, it was not at all justified from the moral standpoint. The wife of Dronacharya, who was the half-body of the great soul, must be treated with compassion, and she should not be put into grief because of her son's death. That is compassion. Such statements by Draupadi are without duplicity because action should be taken with full knowledge. The feeling of equality was there because Draupadi spoke out of her personal experience. A barren woman cannot understand the grief of her mother. Draupadi was herself a mother, and therefore her calculation of the depth of Kripi's grief was quite to the point. And it was glorious because she wanted to show proper respect to a great family.
It's very complex, huh? Not so clear cut. Text 50. Nakul and Sahadev, the younger brothers of the king, and also Satyaki, Arjuna, the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, son of Devaki, and the ladies and others all unanimously agreed with the king. Bhima, however, angrily disagreed and recommended killing this culprit who had murdered sleeping children for no purpose and for neither his nor his master's interest. Chaturbhuj, the four-armed one.
Text 52.
Text 52. Chaturbhuj, the four-armed one, or the personality of Godhead, after hearing the words of Bhima, Draupadi, and others, saw the face of his dear friend Arjuna, and he began to speak as if smiling. Purport. Lord Shri Krishna had two arms, and why he is designated as four-armed is explained by Sridhar Swami. Both Bhima and Draupadi held opposite views about killing Ashwatthama. Bhima wanted him to be immediately killed, whereas Draupadi wanted to save him. We can imagine Bhima ready to kill while Draupadi is obstructing him. And in order to prevent both of them, the Lord discovered another two arms. Originally, the primeval Lord Shri Krishna displays only two arms, but in his Narayan feature he exhibits four. In his Narayan feature he resides with his devotees in the Vaikuntha planets, while in his original Shri Krishna feature he resides in Krishna Loka planet, far, far above the Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky. Therefore, if Shri Krishna is called Chaturbhuj, there is no contradiction. If need be, he can display hundreds of arms, as he exhibited in his Vishvarupa, shown to Arjuna. Therefore, one who can display hundreds and thousands of arms can also manifest four whenever needed. Should I just finish it? When Arjuna was perplexed about what to do with Ashwatthama, Lord Shri Krishna, as the very dear friend of Arjuna, voluntarily took up the matter just to make a solution, and he was smiling also.
Text 53 and 54. The personality of Godhead Shri Krishna said, a friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed, but if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. All these rulings are in the scriptures, and you should act accordingly. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife, and you must also act to the satisfaction of Bhimsena and me. Purport. Arjuna was perplexed because Ashwatthama was to be killed as well as spared according to different scriptures cited by different persons. As a Brahmabandhu or a worthless son of a Brahmana, Ashwatthama was not to be killed. but he was at the same time an aggressor also. And according to the rulings of Manu, an aggressor, even though he be a Brahmana, and what to speak of an unworthy son of a Brahmana, is to be killed. Dronacharya was certainly a Brahmana, in the true sense of the term, but because he stood in the battlefield, he was killed. But although Ashwatthama was an aggressor, he stood without any fighting weapons. The ruling is that an aggressor, when he is without weapon or chariot, cannot be killed. All these were certainly perplexities. Besides that, Arjuna had to keep the promise he had made before Draupadi just to pacify her, and he also had to satisfy both Bhima and Krishna, who advised killing him. This dilemma was present before Arjuna, and the whole solution was awarded by Krishna.
Text 55. Sutta Goswami said, just then Arjuna could understand the motive of the Lord by his equivocal orders, and thus with his sword he severed both hair and jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. Purport. Contradictory orders of different persons are impossible to carry out. Therefore, a compromise was selected by Arjuna by his sharp intelligence, and he separated the jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. This was as good as cutting off his head, and yet his life was saved for all practical purposes. Here, Ashwatthama is indicated as twice born. Certainly, he was twice born, but he fell down from his position, and therefore he was properly punished.
Text 56. Here Ashwatthama had already lost his bodily luster due to infanticide, and now, moreover, having lost a jewel from his head, he lost even more strength. Thus he was unbound and driven out of the camp. Purport. Thus being insulted, the humiliated Ashwatthama was simultaneously killed and not killed by the intelligence of Lord Krishna and Arjuna.
Text 57. Cutting the hair from his head, depriving him of his wealth, and driving him from his residence are the prescribed punishments for the relative of a Brahmana. There is no injunction for killing the body. Thereafter, the sons of Pandu and Draupadi, overwhelmed with grief, performed the proper rituals for the dead bodies of their relatives. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Son of Drona Punished. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki.
Jack.
So I guess we're going to stop there by the looks of Bhava Bhakti.
Well, I finished this book, so...
Oh, okay. So, thank you all very much. Sorry we missed a couple of days. We're going to try to get back on track. It is getting a little busy around here, and has been. But we're trying to make time to ensure that we water the root of the tree and feed the bird in the cage. So we read from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very nice, very relishable. So we look forward to seeing you all again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.